great having Al Stewart with us here today, talking about the assessment process interview. Now, Al and Kathy have done, I think, over 25 assessment interviews over the last 5 years, across states and across church planting methodologies as well. So I thought it'd be really helpful to hear from Al about how he goes through the process before, after, and during the assessment interview. So Al, can you kick us off by telling us, how do you actually prepare for an assessment interview?
Sure, Scott. I guess the thing is to expect that it's going to take you 3 hours to prepare. I'm not a very fast reader, but by the time you read, it's about 100 pages of documents. By the time you read through all of that, it takes me around 2 hours. I read with a pen in my hand and I mark anything that's of interest with a star in the margin. First of all, I also number the pages 1 to 110, so I know where to go back.
Yep.
I'm looking for particular themes, anything that jumps out. I read the personal references very carefully. So it takes 2 hours to read all of that material. And then I also listen very carefully to a sermon that the guy who's planning the church plant has preached and take notes on that. And what I'm looking for is there's theological correctness, yes. I'm looking for that. But I'm particularly looking at, can this man communicate? Can he actually engage with me?
So you're almost thinking, can he build an audience, a congregation of 100 plus people? Is that also?
I guess, do I want to listen to a second sermon?
Yep.
That's one way of, okay.
What particularly are you looking for in the character references?
Is he teachable? Emotional resilience? Can he lead a group of people? That's one. Also want to look at how he treats his wife and family. Mm-hmm. Because there's so much material, I think it probably takes a church planter 12, 14 hours to fill all of this out. There's always more material than you need. So for some, I'll know what theological college they come from. I'll look at the references. We won't need to really deal with theology much. Whereas others, that's directly where I'll go.
Yep.
So what you're looking for in a way is what's the thread, the loose thread in the jumper that you pull that begins to unravel things. It might be his relationship with his wife, or it might be, maybe he or she's had a serious illness a little while ago. Are they ready to do this? And I want to get clear to them, this isn't a job interview, and I'm not the Pope. It's more, can we help you to be wise in the decision that you make? So
that's really important. A lot of the people who we interviewed last year about the whole assessment process spoke about the importance of trust. You've got a particular sort of couple of sentences that you use every assessment interview. Are you able to share those with us?
I do say to people, trust us. We're on your side. This is not a job interview. So you might as well be as honest with us as you can, and then we will give you the best possible feedback we can. And then it's up to you what you want to do. But if you're trying to tell us what you think we want to hear, the value of the assessment process is greatly diminished.
Great. Well, that's really helpful. Tell us what you do during the interview. So generally it goes for about 2 hours. Mm-hmm. You spend the first hour on what?
Well, let's just say who's in the room. We have done a couple of interviews with single men who were, let me think. There's only one interview with a single man that we've done. Otherwise, married couple will insist that the wife is there because she's at least half the team. And then we'll have myself and Kathy, or we'll have a married couple who do the interview, and then one other ministry practitioner, usually a bloke who's been in ministry long term.
Yep.
Somewhere private, and at least 2 hours, maybe some more, for us to talk. Kathy and my wife and the other man have read all the material. I usually begin by thanking them for all the effort that they put into preparing this, and so sometimes we may not even talk about particular things, but we've read it all, and we'll just pick specific items.
Yep.
And then I'll just go through and we'll a little bit of chit chat, who are you, where are you from, what would you like to talk about. My Kathy's good at asking those kind of icebreaker questions.
Yep.
But then I'll just look for what I think may be the particular issues that come up, and we'll pursue that.
Great.
And then it'll take 2 hours. We'll talk that through, and then there'll be other things. So what I'll do is I will write down in my book particular issues. Say it's he needs to work on his preaching, for example. So preaching, and then that might have been mentioned a couple of times in the references. I'll say page such and such, page such and such, that. And then also his wife might be nervous about something, wife nervous, and give page references so that I'll actually read from what he said or she said. Generally, I won't quote a referee by name, although given there's only 4 referees, they can sometimes work it out.
It's important, though, that we maintain confidentiality with our references. So,
yes.
So it's important to discuss the behaviour or discuss the theme that's arising in the character references, rather than actually saying, Al Stewart says this about you.
Yeah. Although if it's a positive, and mostly our character references are, I might say, Scott Sanders said this positively about you.
Yep.
But something that's negative or difficult, maintain confidentiality there.
Can you talk about how you involve Kathy, your wife, in the interview process, and her, I guess, her particular skill or her involvement in actually assessing and understanding the wife of the church planner?
If you've ever listened to cricket commentary, they have one commentator who describes everything that's happening, and someone is there for expert commentary. Mm-hmm. So Kathy's the expert commentary. I might talk and ask many more questions, and she will just chime in with exactly the right thing at the right time. And I think particularly she's wanting to talk with the wife about how comfortable this lady is, how much he has listened to her. Not so much worried about her giftedness, but her commitment to the process.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not quite so worried about is she gifted particularly, but is she with him 120%? And I think particularly Kathy and I are wanting to check, is their marriage robust? And I know here's another, it's a cliche I say, but I really mean it. If the church plant doesn't work, that's a pity. If it means their marriage fails, that's a disaster. Mm. I just want to know that the marriage is robust enough to cope with the church plant not working.
Yep.
And that he'll listen to her enough so that he won't work himself to death, kill his marriage, destroy his family, all of those things.
Yep. So we've done the assessment interview. You're now sitting down with the assessment interview team, and you're trying to work through, well, do we recommend this church planting couple? Are they recommended with conditions? Are they a strong potential, or is this just a no-go? How is it that you lead that process, that you actually come to that conclusion?
I take notes as we talk with people. I take notes as much as we can, and we'll push on particular issues, that kind of thing. And sometimes I've said fairly hard things to young men because I love them. I just kind of really basic stuff like, mate, you should stop farting around with computer games late at night, and you need to be in bed the same time as your wife. It'll keep your marriage strong, you'll get more sex, and you need to be a grown-up. And he listened.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's during the interview. We'll thank them, pray for them, and then the couple head out.
Yep.
Well, the interview team will then talk about, well, it's pretty high-tech. I say, well, what do you think? And we'll go through some obvious strengths.
Yep.
The letter that the couple will receive will list the obvious strengths that they have as individuals and as a couple. And then there'll be inevitably some work areas, aka weaknesses, and then recommendations. I will tell people bluntly if I don't think they're wired up for it. If their marriage isn't strong enough, if they're don't have the leadership gifts, or if their plan is kind of half-baked.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's interesting that usually people will listen to you as well.
Good. Well, thanks, Al. Really appreciate the time that you've spent giving us a little insight into how your brain works and how it works in the context of the assessment interview.